So Donald Trump created controversy yet again when he insulted our veterans by saying that giving the Presidential Medal of Freedom Award was actually better than the Congressional Medal of Honor because you don't actually have to work for it. You don't have to earn the Presidential Medal of Freedom. A civilian can get that. You don't actually have to serve your country. It really got a lot of people upset. It actually offended a whole lot of veterans who came out against it. So you would think that Donald Trump would want to clarify his statements, or he would want to maybe issue an apology and say, that's not what I meant. But Donald Trump does not have that in him, folks. Instead, when asked about it, he does what he always does. He just doubles down. Take a look at this clip.
Many veterans are upset about that, including here in Pennsylvania.
No, I didn't hear that. I only heard, when I say better, I would rather in a certain way get it, because people that get the Congressional Medal of Honor, which I've given to many, are often horribly wounded or dead. They're often dead. They get it posthumously. And when you get the Congressional Medal of Honor, I always consider that to be the ultimate, but it is a painful thing to get it. When you get the Presidential Medal of Freedom, it's usually for other things, like you've achieved great success in sports, or you've achieved great success someplace else. When you get the Medal of Honor, generally speaking, and I've met many of them, and I've seen the families of many of them, this is an incredible honor, but it was a statement that it's much more painful to get because they're oftentimes in very bad shape. I've seen them come up and they've suffered greatly, whereas the Presidential Medal of Freedom, to my knowledge, I don't think anybody suffered, other than they've worked hard and they've done great things. One's a military award, one's a civilian award, but sometimes very painful to get the other.
Folks, I've been following politics my entire life, and the older I get, the more I follow them, the more I pay attention. I've studied every election in my lifetime. I've went back and read and studied about every election before my time. A podcast that I highly recommend is called American Elections, The Wicked Game. Breaks down every presidential election we've ever had, and it also goes to show that we've always been very combative when it comes to politics. What I love about that podcast is that it shows you that we've always played dirty in politics. That's just how it goes. But any time that anyone makes a comment that is offensive or that could risk losing them an election or losing them voters, they usually come out and they try to clarify their statements, or they try to issue some sort of apology, or they try to rebrand themselves, or they try to come up with another game plan on how to keep their base happy. But Donald Trump doesn't do any of those things. Donald Trump doubles down. There he is. He had a chance to clarify what he was saying, and instead he made it worse. He just dug in his heels and made it worse. That response was worse than the first one. Because, yeah, you don't have to do anything. I mean, these people are banged up. They're beat up. No, they were serving their country, you dipshit. They were serving their country honorably, something you didn't do when it was your time to do it. Something that you have sat and mocked and ridiculed every step of the way. I don't know how in the world that a guy came into the Republican Party and was able to mock a prisoner of war and gain support. But it happened. And he went on to mock that prisoner of war more than once. He has said so many things, and I've went over it in the videos time and again. I've talked about how he said dodging STDs was his personal Vietnam. In any other era in American politics, that one comment alone would destroy you. That would be the end of you. He really said that? What a low blow thing to say. When someone gave him a Purple Heart, he said, yeah, I always wanted one of these. This was much easier. I didn't have to do nothing for it. And that's exactly what he's saying here. You don't have to do anything for this. You don't have to do anything for the one I gave out. It's much better because you didn't have to do anything. He never tries to back up. He never tries to rebrand. He never tries to rethink anything. And there's nothing smart about that. There's just not. If you've ever studied or followed politics at all, you know that no one has ever did this before. No one has ever went about it the way Trump goes about it. I've seen politicians say things that was true. Back when John Kerry was running for president, the problem with Kerry was, and I admitted this as a Democrat, the problem with Kerry was he had voted for the Iraq War. He had voted for the Patriot Act. So when he got up there on the debate stage with W and he tried to criticize the Iraq War, then people would say, well, you voted for it. W could say that you voted for it. And that's exactly what happened. Kerry was being interviewed, And he said, when they asked him, well, why did you vote for the Iraq War? He said, well, I never had any idea he was going to fuck it up this bad. They questioned if Kerry was presidential after that because he used the F word. And Kerry had to go out and apologize for that and say, you know, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say anything out of line there. I was just simply saying I didn't realize he would mess it up like that. He had to backtrack over that one comment. Look at all the things Trump has said. He's never backtracked once. You got to hand it to him. He doesn't backtrack at all. He doubles down. And that's why his supporters love him so much. At the end of the day, folks, it's not about them giving him a pass. It's them loving him doing it. See, if he stood there and apologized and said, oh, I meant no disrespect to our veterans. I meant no disrespect to our men and women in uniform. I'm so sorry if you misunderstood it. He just doubles down. He digs in. He insults you harder. And they sit back and they cheer that on because their lives is so empty. They've got nothing out there to live for or fight for. And he makes them feel like they have something to live for and fight for. He makes them feel powerful. He makes their lives feel meaningful. And I know that's sad. And I know we can't wrap our mind around it because we don't vote for politicians the way that MAGA does. We're not about that. We vote for who we think is the best person for the job. And if the person we vote for doesn't do a good enough job, we call them out on it all the time. We say that was a mistake or this was a mistake or, hey, maybe we need to have someone else step in and run next time because this ain't working. That's what reasonable people do. Politicians were never meant to be celebrities. They were never meant to be on the Wheaties box. They were never meant to be your hero. Don't get me wrong, there's some presidents that deserve hero status, but I'm just saying that's not what they were ever meant to be. And in Trump's world, that's all it's about. So he can double down on this insult to veterans, and they don't care. If they see us calling it out, they're happy that we're calling it out. They love the fact that we're sitting here calling it out because they think somehow they had this gotcha moment, that they got us. They didn't get nothing. The only thing they did was show us exactly who they are. He insulted our veterans yet again, and they was cool with it because he empowers them to be who they want to be. He went out there when he was asked to clarify his statements, and he made it worse, and they're even more happy because he didn't back down, because he kept doubling down. And folks, don't be surprised if you see the day that the guy just don't take out a flag and wipe his ass with it and toss it over his shoulder, and they will find a way to cheer for it. He's not going to lose that cult at this point. It's not happening. We can sit here and we can combat it and we can keep bringing the receipts and we can keep pointing out, and we do so for the people who are sitting back, sometimes afraid to speak out, the people who are on the fence, or the people that's not necessarily on the fence, but they've been sitting here this entire time listening to this rhetoric going, I don't believe in this. But sometimes it's hard to speak up, and I understand that. I get it, folks. If you're living like I live, you're a blue dot in this massive Bible belt that you're in. I joke and say I'm in the buckle of it. I understand that you don't want to rock the boat, and I understand that it's hard to find a job in this part of the world and you don't want to risk losing it. I get all of that. So I don't expect everybody that watches my videos to start their own YouTube channel and do their own thing. But what you can do is you can share videos like this and you can pass them around. And to the ones who you see asking questions and the ones who are beginning to go, you know what, I'm starting to see through this, then you can pass these things along and say, yeah, there's other blue dots here in these southern states and all across the country. North, south, east, and west, there are people who are blue dots who are sick of this crap, and we see through it. So I want to thank you guys so much for subscribing. We're closing in on 300,000 subscribers. That's pretty hard for me to believe, but you guys are the best. I appreciate you for coming along on this ride with me. But let's keep calling it out. Let's keep pointing it out, and let's save our democracy. Let's preserve it, defend it, and protect it. Like that's what we were meant to do, folks. That's why we're here. So don't lose sight of that. Realize what we're up against, and realize that there's nothing Trump can do that's going to lose those people. But doubling down like this is only going to lose it for him come November. So Donnie, buddy, just keep on running that mouth.